So, hello, welcome my to channel Reading boy 1984. Let's go. When he nervous were in rock after hour of questioning, even this apple cold reduced him to a sniveling tear. In the end, the knocking voices brought him down more completely than the bow and feet of the guard. He became simply a mouth that uttered a hand that signaled whatever was demanded of him. His sole concern was to find out what they wanted him to confuse, and then confuse it quickly before the bullying started anew. He confused it to the assassination of an inanimate part. Remember the disruption of seditious Pompel embezzlement of people found. So of military scar subtage of every Qaeda, he confused that he had been a spy in the pay of the Estacian government as far back as 1968. He confused that he was a recluse believer and admirer of capitalism and sexual prowess. He confused that he had murdered his wife. He now, and his question must have now I was still alive. He confused that 4 years he in personal touch with Golan and had been a member of an underground organization which had included almost every human being he had ever known. It was easier to confuse everything and implicate everybody beside in the sense it was all true. It was true that he had been the enemy of the party, and in the eye of the party there was no distinction between the soul and the dead. There were also memories of another kind. They stood out in his mind distinctly like pictures with blackness all around them. He was in a cell which might have been either dark or light because he could see nothing except a pile of iron. Near at hand, some kind of instrument was taken slowly and regularly. The eyes grow large and more luminous. Suddenly he flew out of his seat, dived into the ice, and was swallowed up. He was strapped into a chair, surrounded by the under dazzling light. A man in a white coat was reading the deal. There was a trap of heavy boat outside the door. Clan. They opened the waxed face. Officer merchant followed by two guards. Room 101 said the officer. The man in the white coat did not turn round. He did not look at the Viston either. He was looking only at the lead. He was rolling down a mile corridor, a kilometer wide, full of glorious golden light, roaring with laughter and shooting out confusion at the top of his voice. He was confusing everything, even the thing he had succeeded in holding by under the torture. He was relating his entire history of his life of an audience who knew it already. All him were the grad. The other question, the man in white coat, O'Brien, Julia, Mr. Carino, all rolling down the corridor together and shooting with laughter some dreadful thing which had lain embedded in the Thor had somehow been skipped over and had not happened. Everything was alright. There was no more pain. The last detail of his life was laid bare, understood, forgiven. He was staring from the blank bed in the half curtainly that he had heard O'Brien's voice. Also his interrogation, so he had never seen him. He had the feeling that O'Brien was at his elbow, just out of sight. It was O'Brien who was direction he received, was who said he grabbed onto a stone and who prevented them from killing him. It was he who decided when Stone should scream with pain, when he should have a respite, when he should be fit, when he should sleep, when the drug should be pumped into his arm. It was he who asked the question and suggested he answered. He was the mentor. He was the protector. He was the inquisitor. He was the friend and aunt. Winston could not remember whether it was in drugged sleep or in normal sleep or even in a moment of wakefulness. A voice murmured in his ear, "Don't worry, wasn't you are in my keep him for 7 years. I have watched over you. Now a turning point he has come. I shall save you. I shall make you perfect." He was not sure whether it was Oberon's voice, but it was the same voice that had to him. "We shall meet in the place where there is no end." That other dream 7 years ago did not remember any ending to his interrogation. There was a period of blackness and then the cell or room in which he now was had gradually materialized round him. He was almost flat on his back and unable to move. His body was held down at every essential point. Even the back of his head was gripped in the same manner. O'Brien was looking down at him gravely and gathered sadly, his face sent from below looked Korean born, with bulge under the eyes and tireless from nose to chin. He was older than Winston had saw him. He was perhaps 48 or 50. Under his hand was a dell with a lever on top and figure rounding round the face. "I told you," said O'Brien, "that if we men again would be here." "Yes," said Winston, without any warning except a silent movement of O'Brien's hand. A wave of pain flooded his body. Was a fighting pain because he could not say what was happening, and he had the feeling that some moral injury was being done to him. He did not know whether the thing was really happening or whether the effect was electrically produced. But his body was being wrenched out of shape. The joints were being slowly torn apart. Also, the pain he had brought a sweat out on his forehead. The worst of all was the fact that his black bone was about to snap. He sat in the teeth and breathed hard through his nose, trying to keep silent as long as possible. "You are afraid," said O'Brien, washing his face, "that in another moment something is going to break. Your special phrase, they will your backbone." You have a vivid mental picture of the vertebra snapping apart and his spinal fluid dropping out of them. "That is what are you saying? It is not Winston." Winston did not answer. O'Brien drew back the lever on the dell. The wave of pain receded almost as quickly as it had come. That's enough. So continue tomorrow. Goodbye.